Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own Bird Undead or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by the avid reader _ sometimes writer, and you can find the link in our show notes. This story is being read to you by Angela.
Hi, this is Catherine Law Hegquist. Call me Kat. I am Petra Bellwether in Motherland Fort Salem, and I am thrilled to be visiting the Motherland Fort Salem Library.
Bird Undead, Chapter 1, First Night in the Wilds. Abs. The word is weak and comes out as a croak, but it makes Abigail's eyes shoot open. The hand in her own flexes, the fingers of it stretching almost experimentally before coming back to settle where they had been around the side of the taller witch's hand. Brown eyes find tired and confused blue, and she can't help but smile. "Hey there, shitbird," Abigail greets in something just above a whisper. "Are we dead?" the blonde wonders, her eyes scanning the area around them as she tries to make sense of the situation. "No, I don't think so. We're still breathing. How do you feel?" the blaster asks in return, with a slight shake of her head. She feels better than the first time she'd woken up, and she can see that the fixer's breathing is stronger and much steadier now. "Like I've been stabbed, but I think I might be able to get up. I don't know about standing, but sitting, I think I could try." Rael tries to joke, before a rattling cough makes her groan and try to curl in on herself. "So glad to see your sense of humor has survived too, caller. Here, let me help you," the taller witch says dryly, before offering her help. She ends up doing her best to push herself up into a sitting position with one arm. It's hard to do without disconnecting their still linked hands, but they work together to get the blonde to sit up. The back of her strike jacket has a jagged tear in it, and is caked with dried blood and dust from the ground beneath her. There's still a drying puddle of blood where she had been laying as well, the dark liquid a stark contrast from the light color of the dust and sand around them. The front of the fixer's jacket isn't much better off either. It also has a rip in it in almost the same place, and blood is still drying down the front of the fabric. "What now?" Rael wonders, still sounding tired. "Well, I think I remember something about a base installation not far from here in the briefing, just before we moved to the beds. A fallback position, just in case. If I'm not mistaken, it should be about 20 clicks north by northwest of here. Maybe a little bit further, but I remember the general direction. You still need help. We just need to make it there," Abigail suggests, recalling the information they had been given as a contingency plan in case they were somehow separated or their way out was destroyed. "That sounds like as good an idea as any, I guess. Help me stand up. I'd rather not be out in the open when it gets dark," the blonde agrees, and the taller witch carefully pulls them up to their feet. The blaster looks up and finds the sun through the black and white, doing her best to calculate its position and then starting to lead them in what she's 80% certain is the correct direction. The fact that Rael can stand and walk almost perfectly fine assuages the fears she'd had that the sword might have caused some sort of damage, no matter how small, to her sister's spine. She has her scourge and a hooked Camarilla dagger she'd captured during the fight, but the fixer doesn't say anything when they stop by the body of the Camarilla soldier that had stabbed Rael to retrieve his sword. The glow in its black and white filter leaves them sometime later, when they finally hit forest tree cover. Neither lets go of the other's hand, and they keep walking. Abigail has them stop when she sees the blonde start to stagger and stumble, and Rael sits down on the soft forest floor, while the taller witch starts to make them a slapdash campsite. It's the first time they've been disconnected since they died, and Abigail's confused at how uncomfortable she is as she gathers firewood. She doesn't miss the rigidness that seemed to settle into Rael's shoulders, catching it out of the corner of her eye while she sets up the kindling and larger sticks into a small tent-like shape. "Know any seed that'll start that?" the blonde wonders, wincing when she shifts and it pulls at her injury. No, but I was taught the basic survival and emergency camping skills when I was a kid. It was like the army's version of Boy Scouts. They run it for the summer for the fosterlings and anyone else of the blood who wants to join between the ages of 6 and 12. My mother thought it'd be a good head start on basic training, the blaster explains, already starting to rub her two sticks together, moving her palms up and down the one she's spinning between them. It takes a little while, maybe longer than it should. She's a bit out of practice. But eventually the wood starts to smoke and spark, and she's quick to put it among the kindling. The fire is small, but it's warm, and it gives them light. Abigail controls the flow of the smoke with a seed so it won't give away their position. Neither know if there are any more of the Camarilla soldiers around. She wordlessly takes the blonde hand again, and as soon as she sits down beside her, and they both relax as much as they can. Another small fit of rattling cough shakes the fixer's body. It's been happening throughout the day, and it makes a taller witch frown. Hey, take off your jacket and let me look, the blaster requests, looking at her companion. Bells, I'm fine, really, Rael insists, shaking her head and looking uncomfortable. Caller, take off your jacket, Abigail repeats, narrowing her eyes. This time it's not a request, it's just shy of an order, and they stare at each other in a silent standoff before the blonde finally acquiesces with a grumble. The taller witch helps her peel off the ruined coat when she sees the fixer wins, and Rael pulls it across her lap when she's free of it. They're disconnected again, but this feels less stressful as Abigail sits up on her knees, her hands not leaving the blonde skin while she investigates. The fixer's black undershirt makes it difficult to see the blood, both a blessing and a curse. The taller witch checks the entry wound on her companion's back first, surprised to find it's almost healed. It's got a thick scab over it, but it's nearly there, and she gently prods at the skin around it with her fingertips. It sends a shiver through the smaller witch at the contact, but it doesn't seem to cause her any pain. The wound on Rael's chest is a different story. It's not nearly as healed as the one on her back, and Abigail gives her a pointed look when her fingers find wet blood around the hole in the undershirt around it. Okay, so maybe it tore just a little bit the last time I tripped? I'm fine. It doesn't even hurt that bad. The blonde flushes guiltily now she's been caught. Uh-huh. The taller witch looks unimpressed, especially when a soft prod around the injury makes the fixer hiss slightly and flinch away. When the blaster is finally finished, she strips off her own jacket and wraps it around her companion's shoulders. She takes the bloodied one from Rael's lap and checks its pocket before balling it up and tossing it into the fire. Hey, what are you doing? The blonde demands, not catching the action until it's too late and the hand is back in hers again. Your jacket is ripped and covered in blood. It's only going to attract predators. Mine isn't, and it'll be less conspicuous if we happen across anyone if you're wearing my jacket. Just shut up and put it on. You'll thank me later, Abigail answers with a shrug, focusing her attention on dispersing the additional thicker smoke that comes from the fire as the fabric burns.
Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own, and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.